What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the extremely long delay on making any new videos. Life's been really busy and I just honestly haven't had the time, but I really want to get back into doing it, so hopefully this is the start of many more videos to come. So excuse my voice today, I'm a little raspy, but we got a 2002 Chevy Trailblazer here. Came in with a ticking noise, running like crap, has misfires on a couple cylinders. This thing's got a lot of miles on it, 290 something odd thousand miles, and they just want to try to fix it up and keep it. So we're going to try to hook them up. The first thing I want to do, I'm pretty sure I know exactly what's wrong with it. I've already looked into the scan tool data and pretty sure the timing chain's stretched, but the only thing that we can do next, after all the data I've already looked at, is to pull this thing apart and check the timing chains. But the first thing I want to do before we do any of that is check the oil filter. It's always a good idea when you're doing a major job like this, before you get into tearing it apart and just replacing the timing chain, you want to make sure to check that the oil filter doesn't have a ton of metal in it, because if it does, then you've just completely wasted your time putting the timing chain and stuff on it, because more than likely the bearings and everything are going to be toast. So the first thing I'm going to do is get this thing back, get it up in the air, and we'll pull the oil filter off, drain the oil while we're at it, and then we'll cut the oil filter open and we'll let you guys take a look too, and we'll see what kind of metal we got in there. So I'm gonna get this thing up in the air and we will be right back. All right, so I got this thing up in the air. As you can see, I got the oil draining right now, and you can smell the fuel. It's definitely misfiring and not burning all the fuel in the cylinders. I'm gonna let this oil drain. As you can see, it's really thin. Kind of looks a little metallic, not gonna lie to you. I don't know if you can see that in the camera or not, but the oil filter, it's gonna be hard to see on camera, but it's right up in here. It's kind of tucked away. Kind of a dumb place to put it, but you know, they never put them in great spots anyway. So I'm gonna get that off right quick, and then we'll take it over to my workbench, cut it apart, and see what's going on with it. I'll be right back with that. All right, got the oil filter off. We are gonna cut this thing open. If you're working on cars a lot and you don't have one of these, it's a great tool to have. You can get them on Amazon or TikTok Shop, wherever. It just cuts the oil filter open. It's got a little blade right there and you just squeeze around it. So I cut them from the top. You just tighten it around there, get it kind of snug, kind of like if you ever had to cut any copper pipe or anything similar to something like that, a pipe cutting tool. So we're gonna spin this around a few times. Get this cut open. And basically what this will tell us is if we're swapping the engine, or if we have some hope and might be able to save it by putting a, I got this in the right spot, by putting a timing chain set on it. Honestly, with the labor involved in the timing chain versus the engine, it's not a whole lot of difference. It's an extensive timing chain job because you got to pull the oil pan, and the transfer case is built into the oil pan on these. So honestly, it's, if you're going with a used engine, it's probably about the same price to put a used engine in as it would be to do a timing job on it. So that'll be up to the customer though, after I make a recommendation. Of course, we'll do whatever they want. Sometimes these things can be a little bit tricky. There we go. Got this out. This oil filter has not been changed in a while. There's a lot of crud in here. I don't know if y'all can see that, but a lot of crap. So I'm probably going to be recommended that we try to put a used engine in this, because it doesn't look like it's worth rebuilding. Yeah, you really look down in there and you can see that's just nasty right there. Just all kinds of stuff. So let me get my hands cleaned up and we will proceed from here. I'm going to talk to the customer. Either way, honestly, with doing the timing job on this, it's almost the same amount of time to pull the engine. So we'll probably pull the engine anyway and take it apart, see what failed. But more than likely, we're going to be going in with a used engine. So I will talk to the customer and see what they want to do. But either way, we're pulling this engine, and I'm going to give you a step-by-step on how to pull it. So I will be right back. All right, so we are going to pull the engine. It's just going to be easier. Even if we end up doing the timing chain, the timing chain calls for around 18, 19 hours. The engine calls for like 21 to swap it out. So it's really not that much of a difference, because you got to pull the valve cover off, the front cover, the oil pan, the drive shafts for the front, intake. Honestly, it's just going to be easier to pull the engine. So and that way, if we get to the point and we'll inspect the engine and see if it's worth it. I don't think it is based on the oil filter, but at least we're there. Even if we say, hey, it's not worth it, we got the engine pulled versus digging it all apart just to get the cover off. So our first step, always going to be disconnecting the battery. This has got a cover on it. We'll have to get these 10mm bolts off here and right there. There's one there. I don't know if you can see it or not. Then there's just this little plastic cover. Batteries right here. It's a side post terminals battery, so you're going to need 8mm socket or wrench or whatever. Pull those off. Excuse me. Then you're going to want to go ahead. Let's remove this hood. The hood has got 4 bolts, 2 on each side. You'll want to probably get some help with this, or have some kind of rod to hold it up right in this area, so you can keep it positioned while you get it off, because if not, it's going to slide around and you risk busting the windshield. But you want to get this ground bolt off. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. 10mm right there, and then there's a connector that goes to this light, and then it's clipped right there. So you get that off. 2 looks to be 13mm, and then 2 more 13mm on that side. That'll pull the hood, give us much more light. Plus, we're going to need it out of the way anyway. And then next step is this air box. You just have a hose clamp, flathead, or 8mm, 1 sensor connector right there, and looks like some Phillips head to pull this cover. And we'll see what we got under here. I think it just pops up. I'll let you know if that's any different. I'm going to get those 3 things off, and then we'll come back and get to the next step. All right, I got the hood removed. I got the battery removed. I got the air filter box removed, and I removed the washer fluid reservoir, because it's going to be in the way when we have to slide this over here. It was just the 2 13mm nuts, these connectors right here, and then some lines for the washer fluid. Excuse me. So the next step is going to be to recover the refrigerant. In this case, if you don't have a refrigerant recovery machine, this is where you're going to want to get somebody to recover it that has a machine. I have a machine now, so I'm going to recover it the correct way. You don't want to let this stuff out in the air. Not good for the environment, and it's illegal. So definitely get that done by a professional. So I'm going to recover the refrigerant, if there's even any in this car. Haven't checked that yet. And then the next step is going to be to drain all the fluids. You don't have to drain the power steering, because we're just going to set it to the side. But you're going to want to drain the coolant, and probably the front transfer case. I don't know. We might be able to get away with that. I'll see what we got to do there. But I'm going to recover this refrigerant, and then I'm going to drain the coolant. From what I could see, can't remember if these have a drain plug or not. Give me 1 second here. I do not see one on this. It's not saying there isn't one down there. I'll have to go back up with it again and check it out. But we'll get those fluids drained, and then we will proceed from there. I will be right back. All right, so I have the AC recovering, because sometimes this takes a minute. As you can see, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about the AC machine. That's a whole nother topic. But it's sucking all the refrigerant out. You just connect to the high and low sides. Anyway, so before we go back up and drain the coolant, I'm going to remove a few more things. We got to remove this whole basically front brace, radiator, condenser, all that stuff, because the engine, it's got to come out and then come up. It won't be able to come up high enough to get up without removing this. So gonna have to remove the headlights, this front grille assembly. There's 2 tins there, and I believe there's some in here, some clips. I will show y'all as soon as I get that off, because I'm not gonna be able to show that on camera. Some tins for the headlights, and then some more clips to get those off. Those should come right off. Connectors are down in there, but once you slide the light out, you should be able to just twist the bulbs out. I'm gonna do that to both sides and get these 13 millimeters off this front brace and pull this up, and that'll help us get to the rest of the radiator, so we can pull that off. You got your upper hose, lower hose. I haven't went up with it yet to drain the coolant, so I'm gonna do that too. So I just wanted to show y'all that. And quick tip on the bolts. I know I've said it before in my videos, I'll say it again. Whenever you take them out of them, the best way I found to remember where bolts are is to put them right back where you found them. So when I take these out, I'm going to screw them right back into the support, and that way I know exactly where they came from, and I'm not guessing in a big old pan of bolts at the end of which one goes where. So that's my tip for that one. So I'm going to get the refrigerant recovered all the way, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to work on getting this stuff off. All right, so you got a connector for the headlights right here, one connector here, and these are just all squeeze type connectors. You just kind of push in on the connector, squeeze, and go out. Now this one is a little bit, you kind of got to pull this lever up. Just try to be gentle so you don't break the connectors. So when that pulls out, headlight comes out, the hinge or hood latch has to come out. It's 3 tins. This piece is going to have to come out. So as of right now, I got this bolt pulled, this bolt pulled, all of these out. I still got to get that headlight out. Let me show you this. So to get this front little grill piece off, there's just clips. Once you get the bolts off the top, you just gently pull on those clips. Don't be worried if some of those clips break, because as old as these are, stuff's gonna break. It's you can be as careful as you want, but stuff's gonna break. So looks like 10 here, probably another 10 on that side, and it looks like this piece will likely pop up out of there from what I can see. Now to get the headlights to come out like I did there, there's a clip here. I don't know if you can see it or not. It slides like that. You just got to take a flathead, pry it up, and there's one. This one's a little tougher. It's kind of in here, but you just pop it up, and that comes right off. Easy peasy. So I'm gonna get this other light off and get the rest of this bracket off. I'll be right back. All right, so I do not see a drain plug anywhere on this radiator. Not a huge deal. I mean, it makes it a little easier, but it's not that big of a deal. Lower radiator hose right here. It's just got a hose clamp on it, which does indicate somebody's probably replaced the radiator at some point. Just based off of what I've already tore into, looks like somebody's already been into this, possibly even changed the motor out at one point or rebuilt something. So anyway, take this little radiator hose off, and it's gonna make a mess. You wanna have a nice big drain pan to catch it. It's gonna probably go off either side and just make a huge mess. What I do recommend is, can't remember the name of this brand, EWK is what I got. You can get them on Amazon, I think. It's got a flexible little thing built into it. It's just rubber, and you can kind of stick that and form it. That way the water will, you know, kind of go this way. It's still going to make a mess, but makes it a lot easier. Highly recommend it. So I'm gonna get this coolant drained. All right, so I got all the coolant drained. Like I said, I got the refrigerant recovered. So the next step is gonna be to get this radiator and coolant fan and condenser out of here. So that's gonna involve removing your hoses. I already got the lower hose removed from draining the coolant. Remove this hose here, upper hose. Probably get this prop rod just kind of out of the way a little bit. There are some connectors. This is for the coolant fan. This is a, can't remember what they call, like an electro something, some earlier model of a coolant fan. So that's what this is. Connector there. Don't know if there's any other connectors. There is a transmission cooler lines that we'll have to get off here. Basically, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but there's a plastic, like a collar right over this. You pop that off with a pick or a flathead until it's seized up, and then there's a little C-clip that you get a sharp pick and just kind of pull back, and you want to pop it out of its slot, and then these will come right off. So you want to get them both off, and then after that, looks like just 2 condenser hoses. You got one condenser line right here, looks like a 13mm nut, and then one more right here, another 13mm, and then hopefully there'll be enough room to kind of slide this back enough to get it out past the fan and get this thing right out of here. So I'm gonna pop all that off right quick and I'll be right back. All right, so I am gonna go ahead and get the fan clutch out of the way before we get going, just to give me some room here. It's probably could wiggle it out of there, but it's got to come off anyway. So I wanted to show y'all the best tool that I use to get it off. This is a pneumatic fan clutch tool. You will need an air hammer and some air. So, but it comes with this rod and a bunch of different wrench sizes. So this fan blade goes left. Quick tip to know how the fan blades, which direction the threads are. If the whichever part of the front part of the blade, you know, you see this blade part here, it's hard to see under this piece, but the closest part to you is on the left side, so it's the left hand thread. Now if it was flipped around the other way and the closest part to you was on the right side, it would be right hand thread. So, or righty loosey lefty tighty. So in this case, this works for any make and model out there. So in this case, it's going to be lefty loosey, righty tighty, like normal threads. So all you do is you stick this on here, and then we'll go ahead and put this on the air hammer. It's a great tool. And it's good to leave the belt on, that way you got something kind of holding the fan blade for you. But you just put this in here, and apologize for the noise, it's gonna be a little loud, but you just, oh, that one broke right free. Sometimes you gotta hit on them a little bit, but that one broke right free. Let me set this down. Then you just turn it loose. It's the easiest way to get these free. You can use wrenches and stuff, but that's the fastest way for me, and it's an inexpensive tool. I think I got it for less than $200. All right, so to get this connector off for this fan, it's right here. It's gonna have 2 of these clips. I already pulled them out. There was actually one missing on this model, or on this car. So, but it's got 2 little plastic retaining clips, kind of similar to like plastic fenders and plastic covers. And then that just kind of pops out of there. And then we'll set this to the side. So I just wanted to come on and show y'all that, show y'all the air hammer tool. It works great. I'm gonna finish getting the rest of this out, and then we'll press on. All right, got the radiator out of the way. The next step, we're gonna pull this belt off. Belt's pretty easy on these. 3/8 drive right there, just a ratchet, breaker bar or something. You pull that down, pull the belt off. then we're also going to position the, actually I think we can leave the alternator on. Not 100% sure. I think we can. We're going to get the AC compressor off because we got to get this this line out of the way and tucked out of the way because it's obviously all in the way. So we'll get the AC compressor off. We'll get the power steering pump unbolted, kind of just tuck it over here somewhere, kind of out of the way. And I don't think we have to pull the intake off, but we will get all the electrical parts off. We'll go ahead and take this other piece of the air filter duct, whatever you want to call it. It's just a hose clamp and a 10mm, and we'll get all these electrical harnesses. Most of them look like they're going over this way from the PCM, so we'll get those connectors off too. For this PCM, it's got, I think those are 8mm. There's the three bolts, one for each connector, and then you just kind of wiggle it out of there once you get those loose. So we're gonna get all these wires tucked out of the way and get the belt off, like I said, air compressor, power steering pump, and we're gonna strip this thing down a little bit more so we can get down to getting this motor out just as fast as we can. So I'm gonna get all that done right quick. Sorry I can't show, you know, in-depth, real-time videos of me removing it. It's just, it's a lot to edit, and I'm trying to make these videos as simple as possible. Plus, most people don't want to sit and watch a 2-hour video. Anyway, so I'm gonna get all this off and I'll be back with this all stripped down. All right, so I got the AC line off, got the belt off, obviously. Took 3 13mm bolts right in the front of this pump. Got that off, just kind of set it here. I may have to move it some more when we go to moving the motor out of here. I did have to remove the dipstick tube to get the AC line off. It was just right here with this bolt, 10mm nut, and then a 10mm stud to get the AC line off. So got that out of the way, and then there was a 15mm bolt down here that held, I don't know if y'all can see that, it's pretty dark, but it held the AC lines on. So once I loosened that, and then this 10mm, the line popped right off. So I also got a lot of the connectors loose. These are 7mm. I think I said 8mm, but these are 7. Those come off. Be sure, I'm gonna go ahead and take these off so they don't get lost. Make sure these go back. These are very important. So next I'm gonna take the alternator off, just to get it out of the way, to get some more of this wiring so I can kind of peel it back and see what I'm working with. And I'm also going to get this hose out of the way, and then that'll give us some room too, looks like, to get the AC compressor out of the way. So from what it looks like to me, all these wires are going to fold over and lay over on that side. I got one wire down here on the looks like the transfer case control module, maybe, or something like that. I can't tell from up here. I'm gonna have to go down there and get, and then this will all be loose and it'll kind of come over. Just be gentle with your wires and make sure that you're not breaking them. These are obviously old, and somebody's been in here before messing with stuff. If you see these connectors, this pushes in like that. This is like a safety lock. You just kind of gotta pull that out either with your hands or a little small flathead, and then you squeeze and that comes right off. And then these are self-explanatory, you just peel that back. So I'm gonna get that alternator off, try to get the AC compressor off, and then we're probably gonna go back up with it and start working on the underneath stuff. So I will be right back. All right, so we did a little something different here with the wiring. It's been a minute since I worked on these, so I was trying to figure out exactly the easiest way to do it. But instead of having to remove the wiring that's down near the starter and stuff, not that you can't do it, it's just easier to do it this way. You can leave those two PCM connectors. There is a third one. That third one you have to take out because it goes over this way. But this is your fuse box. I just kind of got it laying here because I already got the wire out that I needed. You got 4 7mm. There is a 7mm here too for the positive cable that you got to take loose to get out of here. There's also, I don't know, I'm gonna flip this thing around. There's a ground bolt right here, 10 millimeter, and then there's one deep down in here. You just got to follow the ground wire to get to it. But once you get these off, there's these little clips on the side. It's easier to show you this one. I already got it off. They're a little tricky. You got to get a flat head or a pick or something, kind of pop those up gently while you're pulling it up. And but make sure and loosen these first before you lift this up. Usually once you lift it up, these will kind of just fall out. This one was a little bit stuck. I had to wiggle it back and forth a few times, but I got it out. And that's the only one you got to worry about. You can just set this one back. You probably don't even have to disconnect this big wire. I just did because it was kind of MOA. Not that, but this. And just kind of tuck that out of the way. But once you got that on there and you got the positive and the negative cables loose from here in the frame, that's pretty much it on the wiring. You can leave all these reconnected or connected. You can just, I'm just gonna tuck them back in there for now. You will still have to get this connector off. I haven't went down there to see what it is, some kind of module down there. But you can leave all this wiring alone. I did get the alternator off and the AC compressor. So yeah, I'm gonna tuck a few things out of the way here, and we're gonna go back up in the air and we'll see what we can do up there. All right, so I got it up in the air. Our next step is going to be getting these drive shafts off, CV axles, whatever you want to call them. The transfer case is actually bolted onto the oil pan, and it goes through the oil pan, believe it or not. So you can leave that on there to pull the engine, but you got to get the CV axles off. So we're gonna pull the tires, get the axle nuts off. If I remember correctly, if you just pop the upper ball joint off and give you that'll give you enough room to kind of wiggle these axles out of here. This connector, you can remove it if you want. You don't have to. It is just an oil level sensor. And then obviously you'll want to remove the connector for your transfer case module right here. And I believe that is all the connectors. Don't know if we're gonna have to remove, I can't remember, like it's been so long since I've done one of these. You don't usually work on these too much anymore these days. So might have to remove this little cross member here, might not. So I will let you know if we have to. The exhaust is right up in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's 3 15 millimeter nuts. You just pull that off, slide it to the side. We'll get that off too. The front drive shaft, you do have to pull that out. So it's 11 millimeter nuts here. And then you can just kind of pry that out of the way. Probably just push it over here somewhere. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna get all that off, get these tires off. I'll show you some stuff on these if there's any trouble with them. So I'm pretty sure it's just the upper ball joint though. So I'm gonna tackle all that stuff and I will be right back. All right guys, I got the exhaust bolts removed. One of them was kind of tricky. Got the drive shaft removed, super easy, nothing to that. So these CV axles, they weren't crazy. I did have to take the wheel speed sensor connector off. It's just got some plastic clips, and of course, as I stated earlier, one of them broke. Not a huge deal, but the connector's right here for this. This is the passenger side. I did take the tie rod off, tie rod end off. It's a 15 millimeter nut, I think. And then to get one off, you don't smack on the threads of the tie rod or you'll bust it. I mean, I guess if you're replacing it, it's not that big of a deal. But you want to hit the hammer right here, because the tie rod comes through here, and it breaks this joint free and helps you pop it out. So I did take the upper ball joint off. It was just a, I want to say maybe a 15 or an 18 millimeter nut and bolt. And then you spread this open and it comes right out. I did take this 10 millimeter bolt for the brake line just to kind of give me a little more slack, and that is all I needed for that. The axle nut was a 35 millimeter nut, and let me tell you, an impact saves your life there, because if you try to do that with a ratchet, you'll probably be here all day. So on this side, I had to use my extremely long pry bar. don't know if you can see the handle right here, but I stuck it up through here and got it down there and just pried on it. This one it's pretty well greased up, like somebody's replaced it recently, so it popped right out. And so now all we have to do is finagle it out of this hole here. Just got to find the right spot that it pops out of here on, and this will pop out. It's hard to do this with one hand, so I'm gonna have to set this camera down and do it. But that's how you get those off. It's pretty much the same on the other side, just flipped around. So I'm gonna get that other axle off and I will be right back. All right guys, so I got both CV axles out. No difference on either side, pretty similar to get out. So the next step is going to be to take the torque converter bolts off. They are in here, but you can't get them from this side. I was just using this as a kind of a visual reference. We got to get those off, and we got to get all the bolts out on the transmission. Now there are some up top that may require removing this cross member. If we remove this cross member, it's going to involve taking these two bolts off of each side, and as well as these 4 nuts on each side, 4 nuts and bolts on each side, and then this little plastic tank shield, at least dropping these, and then the transmission mount bolts. So if we take all that off, put a jack underneath this. If you're not on a lift, I'm going to use a transmission jack, but then you drop it down low, slowly, just enough to where you can get a swivel socket up in there. I'm going to attempt to just fish a socket or a long extension and a swivel socket on there and see if I can get them off without having to drop anything. But you may have to end up dropping this. If I do, I'll definitely let you know that. As far as the torque converter bolts go, from what I can see, it looks like this cover right here. Actually, hang on, I'll try to use my knife and pop this off. I'm pretty sure it was right under this cover. Typically, you take the starter off and get to them from there, but I'm pretty sure, I don't know if y'all could see that or not, but there is enough space to get a ratchet in there and take your bolts loose. So that's what we're going to do there. For those, I think there is, let me see if I can see them. Looks like typical GM style 3-bolt torque converter. Might be 4-bolt. Usually they're 3 bolts. So we'll get that off. And once we get all that unbolted, the next step is going to be getting the motor mounts off. And I will be back for that step soon. Okay, I got the cross member removed. It was just easier. I was able to get to some of them, but I just didn't feel like having to sit there for hours trying to fish one out. So, like I said, 4 bolts that hold the outside of the cross member, and then there's 2 big bolts that go through here. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but they're 18 millimeters. You'll need a wrench and a socket, and hopefully an impact. Makes it a lot easier. So, but once you remove that, you get a transmission jack or floor jack, whatever you got available, and lift it up, pull that cross member off, and just drop it enough to where you can get to the bolts. It's not going to drop a lot, but it's going to drop enough for you to get to them. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I have an extremely long extension. Let's see if y'all can see back there. Extremely long extension, and it goes all the way up to the bolt I'm on right now. There is, from what I can tell, there's 2 bolts that go up here. I think there's one at the very top, I can't see it yet, and then there's 2 more on the other side. So I just wanted to kind of show y'all this, show y'all what I'm doing. I'm going to get the rest of these bolts off, make sure the transmission's kind of separating from itself. I'm going to put like a pry bar or flathead or something, just make sure it's kind of coming apart, not stuck. And then I'm going to throw this cross member back up, and we're going to go back down and work on the motor mounts. So I'll be right back. All right, so I got the transmission bolts out. One thing I did want to show you, these sockets right here are a complete time saver. Now this won't work if you have studded bolts that have the stud sticking out, but just regular bolts, which this one had all 8 of the bolts, or 9, I can't remember. But these swivel sockets, you can pick them up at probably Harbor Freight. I'm not sure if they have them. I'm sure they do, or Amazon or anywhere. These are clutch. I think I got these from Northern Tool. So they save you a lot of time. That way you don't have to have a U-joint and a socket, and they're just great. So highly recommend those. So our next step is going to be removing the engine mount nuts. It looks like an 18 millimeter, I do believe. You want to remove that one, as well as this one over here. You can't really see it. Probably have to get a wrench on this side. And a lot of the videos that I've seen, it's like I said, it's been a while since I've removed one of these. It shows them pulling the intake. We may end up having to do that, but I'm going to try not to. We're going to see what happens. I don't know. The height clearance is a little questionable there, but we're going to see what happens. So I'll let you know about that. But after you remove the engine mount nuts, the next step is to get rid of these heater hoses. So don't forget those, because if you leave those connected, you're going to break them, and then you're going to have a whole nother mess on your hands. So there's 2 connections there, and they are quick connects. And in my experience, what's probably going to happen is both of those are going to probably break. So you're probably going to have to replace these hoses anyway. These plastic connectors, they're great as far as quick connect and everything, but usually either they break because the plastic just gets brittle from the hot coolant, or the O-rings inside of them won't seal again, so you'll put them back on there and they'll start leaking. So make sure and keep an eye on that when you're reinstalling the engine. So I'm going to remove these nuts, remove those heater hoses, take one more peek at this intake and see what I need to do, and I'll let you know what I find out. I'll be right back. And like I said, I barely went to touch them to squeeze them, and they both broke. So don't be afraid. They sell these at parts stores, Amazon and stuff. I mean, they're not, you know, incredibly cheap, but they're not incredibly expensive either. But it's going to be a good idea to replace them. Otherwise, you're going to have some kind of crazy coolant leak there, and you know, you don't want that. So those definitely did break, but hey, now they're out of the way. So we can just kind of set them to the side there. And now I'm going to get those nuts off. All right, after looking at it, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the intake. It's going to have to come off at some point anyway. I was just trying to save it from having to come off till we got it out on a stand. So first thing you want to do is probably, you could probably fish it out without it, but I'm going to remove the ECM. It's just 4 tins on either side, 1, 2, 3, 4 right back here. And then there's a bracket. Let me get my light here for you. There's a bracket that goes down and holds it right down there. It's a 10 millimeter, and you want to slide this wire out of the way. And I believe that's all that holds it. Oh wait, no. I think there might be one more. Nope, that's it. Okay, so yeah, those 4 10 millimeter bolts and that 10 millimeter. And as far as the intake goes, it's not incredibly hard to take off. It's 10 millimeter bolts. I don't know if you can see that one or not, but there's one here, one here. They're just kind of staggered throughout the intake. I'm gonna say there's 8 or 10 of them. I can't remember right offhand, but just look through there. Once you get it off, they'll come loose. I don't believe there's any bracket supporting it over here. And I already got the wires all removed, but if you didn't remove the wires yet, now's the time to do that. Get this vacuum line out of the way. I'll get this emission hose out of the way too. And also, you want to remove your fuel lines too. You don't have to do this before you pull the intake because it's underneath there, but we're going to have to remove those. So you just pull these clips right off here, and we'll set them up here for now. And these are just like little safety clips to keep it from backing off. Never seen one back off even without them, but they're there for a reason. So you'll need a special fuel line disconnect tool. I'll show you what those look like. If I can find them. Yep. You'll need these right here. And typically for GM is this pink one. You can pick this up. I think this is a Harbor Freight disconnect kit. Great kit. I've used it for just about, it works on just about every car that I've dealt with. So I'll show you how to do this right quick. Sometimes it helps to spray some lubricant on these. We're gonna see how they feel, but basically you just put the tool, this is a 5/16 or 8 millimeters is what this is. You put the tool in, you push. Sometimes you got to push on the fuel line, but you push while you're pushing in, and watch your eyes because there may still be some pressure on here, but you just kind of work it out, and just like that, it is disconnected. Same thing with the other one. They're usually like the same size. Push in, push the tool in, and this is more of a kind of a feel thing. Once you do it a few times, you'll figure it out. Now to put them back on, you don't need the tool, so you just push them back on until they click. So I'm gonna get these bolts off, and I'm gonna get the bolts off on the intake, and I'll let you know if I find anything different, and then we'll keep moving. All right, I got the intake off. I wanted to kind of give you all a visual image of it. That way for your records, if you need to look back at where the bolts are. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 bolts total. Now the one that you'll miss if you're not paying attention, there's a vacuum hose right here. You'll need to pop that off, and there's one right down in there. So you got 2 in the middle, and then 1 on each end there, 2 here, and then 1 on the very ends. So got that off, and then that emission line like I told you up top at the throttle body. So let me set this out of the way right quick. All right, so now that I pulled the intake off, I saw a couple more things, and we're gonna have to change up with the way we did the wiring. You will need to remove all the wires and set them to the side, because there's one piece of the harness that goes back to the transmission. I mean, I suppose you could find it back there and unplug it and stuff, but I think it's gonna be a little easier just to do it like this. So you wanna remove this 8 millimeter bolt on the starter right there. Hope y'all can see that. And then there are 3 ground. You can leave this ground on because we already took that ground wire loose, but there's 3 ground wires here. 1, 2, and 3. 13 millimeters. Pull those off. There's also 2 sensors here. It looks like a knock sensor, maybe a crank sensor, cam sensor, probably crank sensor. You just pull those connectors off, and then what we're going to do when we get these grounds off, there's also a clip. Actually, this isn't a ground bolt here, this is just for that bracket. We'll remove that and just kind of let it lay to the side there, and then that should take care of all of our wiring as far as I can see. Just look here right quick, make sure. Oh, there's one more knock sensor right here. I don't doubt y'all are going to be able to see that one, but I might have to get it off with 2 hands. But there's one more knock sensor right there, and you can leave this temperature sensor where it's at, and you can leave this starter wire hooked up if you want. If you want to remove it, that's completely up to you. I'm just going to leave it, that way I kind of know how it laid. So get that, those bolts, and that starter wire that we did remove, and then I'm going to get that nut off, and then we should be good. All right, got all that disconnected. There was nothing else that I missed or anything on that side, so we are all clear. The next step, you're going to have to get a little creative. They make an adapter. There's obviously one hooking point for a chain here, and then there's an adapter that you can buy, that special one just for this engine. Obviously I don't have one of them, so I used a bolt off this air adapter, and I just put my chain through it. Just the number 1 rule is that's gonna hold, but don't ever like get up underneath an engine, even if you have it completely secured. It's just not safe, because I mean, this thing probably weighs 300, 400, 500 pounds, so you don't want that falling on you. So now we are going to lift this bad boy up. You will need an engine hoist for this. I have an engine hoist with air. Makes it a heck of a lot easier. So I'm gonna stay on the line while I do this, because once we lift this up, you got to get them up off the engine mounts, and then I'll show you. once you get it off clear of the engine mounts, then you're going to want to take the engine mounts out. And I know you're like, why do we have to do that? Well, the differential that's built into the oil pan is going to hit on these engine mounts if we don't remove them. So to remove them, once we get it up in the air, it's going to be down here. And that looks like a 21 or 7/8, and this is where an impact is probably going to come in very big handy. If you don't have one, those bolts are probably going to be tough. It looks like I may even still have to get a wrench on that one because the coil's in the way. But there's 2 of those on either side. So, but we're going to lift this up right quick and see what we got going on. Excuse me for the noise. All right, I believe I got that resolved. Let's see. Much better. So what I did, I took the air adapter off. The air pump is, it's a emissions pump. You just take that off. Now you will have to replace that gasket now that we remove that. But at any rate, so I just used the 2 bolts and went through with the chain. So now that we got this off the engine mount, our next step is going to be to remove those things. So I'm going to start hammering away on those. I would leave the camera on, but I don't want that to, the noise is going to be crazy, me hitting it with the impact and stuff. But you get those 2 bolts out, and it should, if I'm not mistaken, it should just drop right out. You'll have to fish them out of there a little bit, and then we'll have enough clearance and we'll get this thing out of here. Now, one thing I haven't said yet, but I'm going to get here in just a second. Put a floor jack under the transmission now, because when you pull this out, the transmission's going to drop and then the torque converter can come out. You don't want none of that. So just put a transmission jack under there to kind of support it, because it'll make a big mess. So I'll be right back. All right, guys, a couple more steps, because they're just trying to make this extremely difficult. So there's a 3rd bolt that I did not see until after I cut the video off. It is right down in there. So in order to get that engine mount out, you're gonna have to get the strut off. So what I did was take the 2, there's 2 15mm nuts up top. You can get to them over top, or excuse me, 18mm. And then there's a 24mm nut here. And once you get that loose, then you got to beat on this or use a pulling tool. I didn't have a pulling tool, so I just lightly tapped it with my air hammer and flat end. I just tapped it right there a few times and it popped out. So now this should come right out of there. I'm gonna have to get my pry bar and stuff on it. I just wanted to show y'all that. So you're gonna have to do that on both sides. A couple extra steps, but it's not crazy hard. So just get that off and get these mounts off, and then we'll be ready for the next step. Okay, got the motor mounts out. Obviously now's a good time to check them. We're gonna replace ours. If you can move them at all, they need to be replaced. So got those out. I believe we are ready to see what happens here. So I got the transmission supported with a floor jack, like I mentioned. The exhaust is loose, so we're gonna go up with this a little more, and we're gonna try to pull it out a little bit. So I think we probably need to go down a little bit now that I'm looking at it. And this kind of stuff is just more of a, it's a back and forth kind of thing. You're just gonna have to go up, go down, figure out the best way to get it up out of here. So once you get it separated from the transmission, you're pretty much home free. It's just checking your clearances, making sure nothing is catching, like a wire, anything like that. And occasionally, like this situation, you're gonna have to get a pry bar and pry the transmission out. Looks like it's almost loose. It just needs a little bit of persuasion. All right, so I started looking around, and I actually found one bolt that I thought I got loose, but I did not. So that's what was holding us up. But now we should be good to go. So we're gonna go back up with this thing, see if we can't get this out of here in real time. There we go. So now we're free from the transmission. Like I said, once again, make sure and support the transmission, or right now you're gonna have like 10 quarts of transmission fluid pouring out onto the ground. So we're gonna go up with it a little bit more and then pull it out. And this is just a matter of working it out, lifting, getting the clearances, pulling it forward, lifting some more. And don't do that. You're getting a coil for this now. So you just got to be careful. That was a completely honest mistake. That thing just shattered. But it's tight through here. So every so often, check, make sure there's no wires hanging up or anything of that nature. Looks like we're clear so far. So in hindsight, if you haven't broken it yet, I would take those, at least those 2 back coils out so you don't break them. I have a couple spare coils laying around. Just, I keep a lot of spare ones, so not a huge deal for me, but definitely want to keep those from breaking. And now we got some more clearance there. So we'll lift up some more. Yeah, definitely broke that one good. And look guys, I've been doing this for, gosh, 15, 20 years now. And you know, you still make mistakes like that. You get in a hurry sometimes, and it happens. Don't be too hard on yourself, especially if you're just doing this at your garage or anything like that. Don't sweat over a coil. I mean, I know it's not cheap, you know, those are probably 40, 50 bucks, but don't sweat it. Mistakes happen, even when you're a pro. So oh, got the transmission overflow hose stuck on the back of this engine here. Not the end of the world if it breaks, but it's just got a clip. Oh Lord. It's just got a little wire clip on it basically. They're a little harder to get off when you got pressure on them. That's one way to do it. The little cap came off, so make sure you get that off. And that is it. All right, I'm gonna get this up out of here. I'm gonna get it set up on a table, and we are gonna start pulling this thing apart and seeing what's going on with this timing chain. I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, I got it over sitting on my table. This table has a drain on it. It's a great table. Highly recommend something like this. Just makes it easier, keeps you from making a mess. So first thing we're gonna do is take this 4-wheel drive stuff off. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4. The black, at least on mine, they're black bolts. You don't have to remove the silver ones. So let's pop those off right quick. And this is like the transfer case actuator. I couldn't tell you the exact name for it, but the actuator module. I'm terrible with names. So got that off. That just slides off. And then on this side, same thing, but these are gonna be 18s. I think there's 1, 2, 3, and 4, looks like. Get my 18. Have to get an extension for that. I'm gonna try to do most of this pull apart real time for y'all. That way you can kind of see what's going on here. Hope y'all can see everything. I'm working on this. Got I got my GoPro camera. I was doing a lot of my videos with a cell phone, so I was setting it up and stuff, but I figured this GoPro might be a little more convenient to give y'all a real-time view. So there's that. This thing is loose. I felt it kind of pop out. Set these to the side, and we will gently slide this out of there. And we're just gonna go down here with that for now. And there's that. So we got that free, and then all you have left is your intermediate shaft. Now that that's out, we're gonna go up with this a little bit, and then we're gonna take the oil pan off. Okay, sorry if you can't hear with my air compressor. It has a mind of its own. So the majority of the bolts on this are going to be 13, but there are a couple 10s. Let me grab a magnetic trail. Got one right here. We keep all our bolts together. So these front ones are 10s, and if all your bolts seem like they've been messed with, it's probably because they have. This one feels like somebody's already tried to get in here and do something with it. A lot of the bolts seemed extremely loose to me, so somebody's probably either did a repair or started a repair and then said the heck with it. So there's two 10mm bolts up here. Unless these have backed themselves out, which I doubt it, because there's been a lot of bolts on this entire job that's just been kind of snug, hand tight, basically. So I believe that's all the 10mm bolts. So to speed this up, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 13mm bolts on either side. I'm gonna take those off and I'll be right back. All right, got those off. Now, we may have to go in between here with like a pry bar or something, but I'm just gonna gently tap on it with a mallet. And that's that. Look down in here right quick. Oh yeah. And if y'all can see that on camera, even more metal and debris. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's definitely some stuff, so we will take this and set it off to the side for now. Yikes. Whenever you see your engine looking like this is not a good sign. It is this black sludge everywhere. This is just a case of somebody did not take care of this engine. Probably never changed the oil enough, and that's what happens. Oil breaks down over time and turns into that. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and make a call to the junkyard and get another engine coming, because it's definitely not worth doing any work to this. But for y'all's sake, I'm gonna pull the timing cover off, and we'll see what we got in here. So the next step is going to be pulling the timing cover, essentially. So to do that, you're going to have to remove the harmonic balancer, this tensioner pulley, that's 15mm, and this pulley for the water pump. These, I can't remember on this one. Some of them come right off, some of them have to be pressed off. Most GMs have to be pressed off. So I'm going to get these bolts off, and then we'll see what we got to do with this. All right, so I got the water pump off too. The pulley has 13mm bolts, then you have 5 10mm bolts. That just came right off. Tensioner pulley came off. This one does, like I thought, had have the pressed on pulley. So you'll need to rent a pulley puller. But basically you just get it in there around the pulley and make sure your teeth are all grabbing. That right there is where an impact saves the day right there, I'm telling you, bar none. If I couldn't do that with the impact, I probably wouldn't be pulling this off for y'all. So that's that. Now we're gonna pull all these bolts right quick. All right, I got all the 10 millimeters pulled. There's one 7mm bolt right here. Kind of an odd bolt, probably for like a tension or something, I don't know. So now that we got that off, I'll get my tools out of the way in case this makes a little bit of a mess. And we are going to take a flathead and just gently pry this thing out. All right, this came out real easy. I say that, it's a little stuck down there. There we go. Oh, skipping a step here. The oil pump is built into this cover, so we're gonna need to get that off. I believe it's a 10mm under here that's holding us. Yep, just like a little bracket on the side of this pickup tube, and it locks on there. So now we can get that off, and just baked around here. It's lack of maintenance right here, guys. That's what does it. Keep your oil changed. It's the #1 rule of the game. I mean, I know they don't make anything very well anymore, but you keep the oil change, it lasts a lot longer. So at this point, this is as far as I'm going to go into it. I just wanted to show y'all how to get to the timing chain. To actually replace it, you'll have to pull the valve cover, which isn't hard. It's just some 10mm bolts. But like I said, at this point, I'm not really desiring to go any further because I'm getting an engine. But from what I can see here, and I'm sorry this thing's in the way here, the guides don't look terrible. It looks like they're all right. But what is broken in here is the tensioner. Your tensioner is not supposed to have that much play, and that's probably what was making the when we were going. So in this case, if the engine was good, we'd pop the valve cover off, change the timing chain, and call it a day. But I'm not willing to do all that work to it and put it back in just for something else to happen, because they have ruined this engine pretty good. So I am going to get a used engine coming, and hopefully it don't have the same problem. But I'll definitely inspect it. But yeah, so that's how you do that. Whoa, chain slid a little bit. That's why I always said don't get under it. So that's how you get this pulled out. I hope y'all enjoyed my video. Stay tuned for part 2 of this, where we get the other engine and slap it back in and see if it runs good or not. Hopefully we find a good used engine. You definitely don't want to spend no money putting a new engine in something like this. So definitely go with used. I would just try to find a good used one from the junkyard. I got a good source that finds me really good engines that have low miles, as low as possible. So yeah, I'm gonna get that, and stay tuned for part 2. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't. I'd greatly appreciate it, and I look forward to talking with y'all again.